When we think about what we wear, we rarely think about it from a health perspective. But the truth is, our clothes are very intimately connected to our biology. The fabrics that we put on our bodies aren't just superficial. They become a part of who we are, impacting our health and the health of our planet in more ways than we could ever imagine. I want you to leave this video being equipped with the knowledge that will make it easy for you to navigate the world of fabrics and make better choices for your health and the health of your environment. Feel free to skip around this video. I have made chapters for everything that I'm talking about, and I will leave timestamps for everything down below as well. Let's start with understanding the different fabrics there are, how they're made, and what impact they can have on your health. There are three distinct categories that all the most common fabrics fall into: synthetic, semi-synthetic, and natural. Within each category, there are several nuances that should be navigated well, because as you'll learn later in the video, even natural fabrics can be a villain in disguise. So without further ado, let's begin by breaking down the synthetic fabrics first. Synthetic fabrics include fabrics like polyester, nylon, acrylic, PU, PVC, and elastane, also known by the brand name of spandex or lycra. All these fabrics are essentially plastic, derived from petrochemicals, the same stuff we use for gasoline. The process of making these petroleum-based synthetic fabrics is incredibly energy intensive and requires the use of dozens of hazardous chemicals. Polyester, acrylic, and PVC, for example, are all hydrophobic, meaning they don't easily absorb dyes. This means that special chemical processes are required to dye these fabrics. These chemical dyes are so potent that many of them are very difficult to remove from the final fabric. Chemicals like formaldehyde, a known human carcinogen, and phthalates, which have been linked to endocrine disruption and developmental issues, are among some of the most common chemical compounds used to treat synthetic fabrics. Every time we wrap ourselves in these fabrics, we're essentially inviting these chemicals into our bodies, as our skin is porous and absorbs what we put on it. The very thing we use to express ourselves and protect ourselves from the elements ends up slowly poisoning us, and we don't even realize it. That's why it is especially important to never wear synthetic fabrics in clothes that are A, tight-fitting, B, that you sweat in, and C, that are in close contact with your intimate areas. The environmental impact of these fabrics is quite far-reaching as well. The production of synthetic fabrics contributes to non-renewable resource depletion and potent greenhouse gas emissions. These fabrics are prone to fragmentation. With each wear, tiny fibers break off from the fabric, becoming airborne and accumulating in our environment. Every time you wash these clothes, they shed microplastics into the wastewater. And because most wastewater treatment plants are not equipped to filter out such tiny particles, they end up entering our rivers, our lakes, our oceans, where they can be consumed by marine organisms, leading to ingestion up the food chain and eventually reaching us humans. When microplastics infiltrate our cells, they lead to inflammation, oxidative stress, hormone imbalances, immune system defects, cancer, and other long-term health issues. Some microplastics are so small that they can potentially cross the blood-brain barrier and accumulate in our tissues and organs like our liver, our kidneys, and our lungs. So why on earth would anybody choose to buy clothes made out of these synthetic fabrics? Well, many of us just don't know better, and how can we? This information is not widely available, even though more and more people have started talking about it. But honestly, it just feels like we have no other choice when all of our favorite and most popular brands out there continue to use synthetic fabrics for 99% of their inventory. I think it is safe to say that synthetic fabrics should be avoided at all costs, if not for the environmental impact, then for what damage they do to our own bodies. Unfortunately though, not all synthetic fabrics are so easily avoidable. Elastane, for example, also known by the brand name of spandex is very often blended in with other natural fibers like cotton or linen to give the clothes some stretch. Sometimes it is just necessary to make the garment wearable, and you will see that even responsible, sustainable brands that use otherwise natural and organic materials will have to add a little bit of elastane in there. So my recommendation here is to strive to limit the use of elastane as much as you can, especially in higher proportions. Look for blends that use no more than 5 to 8% and use otherwise natural and organic materials along with it. Semi-synthetic fabrics are a little bit confusing, as there is a lot of marketing misinformation floating around there, making it seem like these fabrics are natural, good for the environment and good for you. Not all true. Let's break it down. These fabrics include all types of rayon, which is an umbrella term for all the fabrics made out of regenerated cellulose fibers. You might know them by the names of Viscose, Tencel, Lyocell, or Modal. They're all made from wood pulp, which is treated with chemical solutions to create the final fabric, though the type of wood used and the processes that are involved to make the fabric is what differentiates these different types of rayon from each other. Let's start with Viscose. More often than not, it is marketed as a healthy natural alternative. While it is true that it comes from a natural source, this fabric is truly not that great. Viscose contributes to a lot of deforestation worldwide. Harsh chemicals like carbon disulfide and sodium hydroxide are used to make the fabric. Formaldehyde-based finishing agents are used to improve wrinkle resistance and color fastness, residual traces of which can be present in the finished product, especially in bright colors. Modal, made from beech tree pulp, is a slightly better alternative. Modal is often produced using a more controlled and less toxic process compared to standard viscose. The production process of Modal is typically more efficient, with a higher percentage of the wood pulp being converted into fiber. Modal is generally considered safe to wear. However, since it is chemically processed, some lower quality Modal can have residual traces of these chemicals present in the finished product, which can definitely irritate the skin and also contribute to some longer-term health issues. Lyocell, often marketed under the brand name of Tencel, is the better option out of all the rayon fabrics. Lyocell is made from eucalyptus tree pulp and is made using a closed-loop process that recycles all of the chemicals used to make the fabric. This closed-loop process uses less water, significantly reduces chemical waste and environmental impact, making Lyocell the most environmentally friendly option out of all regenerated cellulose fibers. It is also breathable and has natural antimicrobial properties. So not all semi-synthetics are evil. And if you're gonna go for rayon, look for Tencel or Lyocell. Do your research on the brands that you are purchasing from and make sure they are sustainable brands that use closed-loop systems and have ethical sourcing practices. If that is the case, that information will usually be all over their website and in the item description, so look out for that. Another tip here is to avoid brightly colored clothes and opt for natural plant dyes if you want your clothes to be less toxic. Moving on to natural fabrics. These fabrics include cotton, linen, hemp, wool, silk, and any fabric that is created using a mechanical process rather than chemical ones. And even here, there are some caveats to look out for. Let's start with cotton, a rather controversial fabric, as not all cotton is created equal. Cotton is actually known as the world's dirtiest crop and is the most pesticide-sprayed crop in the world. Pesticides, herbicides, insecticides that are used in the production of cotton are absorbed into the cotton fibers as the plant grows and can linger in the fabric long after production, potentially causing health risks to both the environment and the wearer. So if you want to avoid these nasty pesticides, you must look for organic cotton. Organic cotton is grown without the use of any synthetic chemicals or GMOs, making it environmentally friendly and a skin-friendly alternative to conventional cotton. Look for certifications like GOTS or Ecotex to make sure that your cotton truly meets these organic standards. Brands that use organic cotton will often have these certifications displayed in the website or in the description of the item, so you won't miss it. And avoid conventional cotton. Linen is made from flax, and it is a wonderful natural fabric that is breathable, absorbent, resistant and has natural cooling properties, making it super awesome for warm weather. Linen is one of the most sustainable fabrics, as flax requires very little water and can grow in poorer quality soil. Same goes for hemp. Not only is it a highly sustainable fabric, requiring no pesticides, growing quickly and absorbing large amounts of CO2 from the atmosphere, but it is also breathable with natural UV protection and antimicrobial properties. For the natural fabrics here, I'd like to mention bamboo, even though it is the raw material rather than the fabric itself, as it can be made using different methods, placing it either in the natural category or the semi-synthetic. The first way to make fabric out of bamboo can be done mechanically, very similar to how flax is made into linen. With this process, bamboo is made into bamboo linen, and it is a wonderful, environmentally friendly and skin-friendly option for a fabric. Then there is bamboo viscose, which is often touted as eco-friendly, but to make this fabric, bamboo has to be treated with harsh chemicals like carbon disulfide and sulfuric acid, similar to the way regular viscose is made. So if you see clothes that are marketed as bamboo, don't right away assume that it's a good fabric just because it sounds natural. Check to see how it was made, as this can be a really big difference. Okay, let's talk about wool, a fabric that is somewhat underrated, honestly. You probably only think about sweaters when you think about wool, but it's actually an incredibly versatile fabric. Did you know that wool was the original sportswear and athletic fabric? In the 20th century, wool was commonly used for swimwear, cycling jerseys. It was the fabric of choice for the military. It was used for a range of Olympic attire, including tracksuits and even the official uniforms for athletes. Wool fibers are incredibly moisture-wicking, meaning they absorb sweat while still feeling dry to the touch. That said, wool also happens to be odor-resistant, with its antimicrobial properties and a fiber structure that allows for excellent airflow. Wool is also naturally resilient and extremely durable, making it perfect for any type of activity. There are many different types of wool, depending on the animal that they come from. Just as an example, cashmere will probably be the softest wool, and merino wool will be the lightest and best suited for everyday wear and overall comfort. The caveat with wool is, again, the sustainability factor. Look for brands that source their wool ethically, with certifications like RWS, for example, and avoid wool from sources with poor animal welfare or unsustainable grazing practices, as this can contribute to a lot of land degradation. Okay, and the last of the natural fabrics that I'd like to touch on is silk. A truly luxurious fabric that is made by harvesting the cocoons of silkworms that are then untangled and made into fibers. A truly unique fabric that is basically made by another species. Silk is smooth, breathable, hypoallergenic, and temperature regulating. That's why you'll often see silk being used in things like pillowcases, bed sheets, eye masks, or pajamas. However, the production of silk is incredibly labor-intensive as well as resource-intensive, as the mulberry trees from which the cocoons are harvested require a lot of water. And there are also ethical concerns due to the killing of the silkworms during harvesting. So you could look for piece silk or ashima silk, which are harvested without harming the silkworms, to ensure it is ethically and sustainably sourced. Alright, that was a lot of information. And now that you know all this, if you're anything like me, you probably want to burn all of the toxic clothes that you own. But of course, not very many of us can just pick up and throw away all of our clothes just to replace it with a whole new wardrobe. It is a lengthy process in some cases, and understandably not a very cheap one. But if you truly care about your health and your impact, switching out your toxic clothes is a no-brainer. This process will take some time and some effort, but it is a process so worth undertaking. We often think about clothes in terms of style or comfort, but what we wear has consequences far beyond our wardrobes. This makes the choice of what we wear so incredibly intimate, and honestly something that should not be taken lightly. I know that natural clothes are generally more expensive, but believe me when I tell you, you would spend so much more money on fast fashion, because those clothes are, well, disposable. The synthetic fabrics are designed for convenience and fast trends, but not longevity. You don't tend to take care of your cheap clothes as much, and as the time passes, they become so badly misshapen, peeled, or just worn out that you end up throwing them away just to buy new ones. a cycle that seems to never end. I myself was a victim of fast fashion at one point, so I know what I'm talking about. I have since started my journey to a minimalist lifestyle, decluttering my home and my closet, getting rid of everything but the essentials. Can you guess how many fast fashion items survived the closet purge? None. And I've over the years have bought hundreds. That is basically money down the drain. Whereas if I were to buy more expensive, good quality pieces made from natural fabrics with proper care, those clothes would last me for years. Clothes made by brands that recognize that fashion doesn't have to be fast or disposable. It can be intentional, it can be beautiful and sustainable. So the question arises, where do you even start? Well, start from the clothes that are closest to your body. Your underwear, your tight-fitting clothes, your tanks, t-shirts, socks, undergarments, etc. If you go to the gym a lot, definitely start with your athletic clothes. When we're hot and sweating, our pores are at their most dilated. This is when our skin can absorb the most. And like I mentioned previously, unfortunately, in today's world, our athletic clothes are some of the most toxic. All these fancy names for buttery soft, dry fit, clima-cool fabrics. It's all petroleum-derived chemical plastic. Start small. The next time you shop, look for organic, natural fabrics. Check the label, ask questions, be curious on what's on your skin and what's it doing to the world. It's easy to feel disconnected from the impact of just one shirt, one dress, or one pair of pants, but every choice we make matters. By choosing better, we're making a statement not just about who we are, but about the kind of world that we want to live in. There are so many incredible brands emerging nowadays, brands that care about making the best feeling clothes for their customers. I won't mention any brands here, as I would like you to do your own research now that you've got these new tools in your toolbox, and really choose the fabrics that are right for you. Since this is a lot to remember, I have created a cheat sheet that you can refer to that recaps all of these fabrics that I talked about in more detail. It is completely free. I will leave a link for it down in the description. I think it's a wonderful resource that hopefully will make things easier for you when looking at or shopping for fabrics. With that, I also want to leave you with a recap of the most important takeaways that will help you choose fabrics later on. Take a screenshot if you will, or try to remember the following points. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Ciao!